Welcome to this week's Fridays at First podcast. I am Richard Gibbons, a member of the pastoral staff at First Presbyterian Church in downtown Greenville here in South Carolina, and your Valentine host for this week's podcast. In thinking of Valentines, allow me to wish a very happy 75th birthday to my former colleague, Reverend Dr. Shelton Sanford. Shelton is, as you know, the very essence of all things romance. Our very own Cupid. Please take a moment and wish your cuddly Cupid a happy birthday when you see him on Sunday. Meanwhile, your intrepid Fridays at First correspondent was surprised this week to discover that there has been an increase in demand for plastic surgery. The New England Journal of Medicine reported a 7% rise in minimally invasive procedures, plus a 19% increase in cosmetic surgery. The reason for the increase is driven by several factors, including social media influencers, a celebrity culture, and the rise of an image-conscious society. Millennials, we are told, are responding in record numbers. As I look back over the years, I can remember when plastic surgery was a taboo subject. Yet today, when you mention Botox, no one raises an eyebrow. An enormous thanks goes to everyone who participated in our annual Yellow Bag project. If you were not with us last week, you still have time to pick up a yellow bag, fill it with gently used clothing, shoes, handbags and accessories, and drop it off in the First Pres parking lot on Sunday, February 23rd. A large truck from Miracle Hill Ministries will be on campus to receive your donations. All donations will, of course, go to help homeless individuals and families here in the Upstate. Over the last few weeks, I have been mentioning an event entitled The Fragile Years, which will take place on Saturday, March the 8th. This event will focus on proven strategies for the care of our aged loved ones. If you have a parent or grandparent entering those fragile years, Amy O'Rourke, author and veteran care management professional, will help you navigate the complex questions involved. This half-day seminar will take place on our campus, and you can register at firstpresgreenville.org/events. The cost is $25 per person. And I'm delighted once again to welcome on your behalf our co-host Michelle Ward, who is interviewing Susan Messer about an upcoming event entitled Sacred Solos, and this you will not want to miss. Susan, Michelle, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks again, Richard, and happy Friday, everyone. It looks like we are going into a rainy weekend, so if you have not started cleaning up and putting things in those yellow bags for Miracle Hill, this would be a great weekend to do so. I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Dr. Susan Messer. If you do not know Susan, she is our choral music director here at First Presbyterian Church. Susan, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Michelle.
Well, if you attend worship here on Sundays in the traditional services, you have been blessed by our phenomenal choir and musicians. And Susan and Dustin Chevalier and their worship team have expanded upon this ministry with some really beautiful concerts. You're probably familiar with Christmas at First. This past year, they did Love's Pure Light, which was just amazing. And we're excited because we've got a new concert coming up in just a few weeks. It's called Sacred Solos at First. Susan, tell us a little bit about Sacred Solos at First and what one could expect from this concert.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned Christmas at First, because a lot of those soloists that you heard at Christmas at First, for just a little bit, they'll all be singing a whole song of music for Sacred Solos, or playing. Like we have a cellist, oboist, clarinetist. The clarinetist you heard at Christmas at First will be playing.
Okay.
And so these folks will be presenting a whole piece of music accompanied by our great pianist, Stephen Greiner, Dustin Chevalier, and Ruby Lee.
Okay.
And we want this to be a preparation for the Lenten season for you, because Lent will be Wednesday, March 5th. So this will be 3 days prior to Lent.
Right.
And these folks will present some beautiful music for you that will hopefully prepare your hearts for Lent. You will experience God in ways that cannot be expressed in words. I heard this beautiful story that a soloist was asked, how did that music make you feel? And she said, if I could tell you, I would not have to sing it. So many times when you'll hear this beautiful music either sung or played on an instrument, someone might ask you, well, what about God did you learn? And you might say, well, then I don't know if I could put that in words because I would not have had to sit here or wanted to sit here and listen to the music. So we hope that God, and we know that God will touch your heart and soul, and you'll get to know Him better in a way that you can't even express.
Well, I know personally music can just evoke so much emotion, and every concert that I've ever been to, Susan, where you all have had these soloists and the musicians that are playing instruments. I mean, you don't have to have words even just to be able to feel that in your heart. So that's wonderful to be able to have a concert like this is going to prepare us for the season. All right, so the tickets are only $10, and this is going to be on Sunday, March the 2nd at 2 p.m. Now, is this in the sanctuary or the Worship and Arts?
It's in the Worship and Arts Center.
Okay, great. So there's plenty of seats, you all. And like Susan said, this is going to be an incredible concert. You do not want to miss this. All right, now, Susan, you've got some other pretty cool, exciting news about the choir. Can you let us in on that?
I do. Someone wrote us and asked us to be a part of a Carnegie Hall experience in New York City. We'll be singing with a multi-voice choir there.
Wow.
Conducted by Mary McDonald, who was our guest in choir on a Wednesday night. She held a workshop for us. And so she'll be conducting it. And right now we have 27 of our singers signed up to be singing in this multi-voice choir. We will be on the Carnegie Hall stage.
Oh, wow. First Pres is going to Carnegie Hall. That is so exciting. Well, congratulations, because obviously that means you all are doing just a beautiful job in keeping these wonderful musicians. And not all of them are covenant partners. I mean, I think you have a lot of folks in the community that come just to be a part of worship with us. Is that correct?
We have a few in our choir who are not members, and we hopefully one day they will feel led to be covenant partners, but they enjoy the fellowship, enjoy the music we sing. That's what they tell me anyway.
For sure.
And we are so honored that they join us to be a part of our very kind, friendly, wonderful choir.
Yes.
They tell me many times when they come to sing with us in Greenville that they have found their people by the choir members.
Well, and as the social media coordinator, I get to see when First Pres is tagged in different posts, and it's really unique to see. There was a young person around the holidays who said they had been really struggling and facing some hard times, and that the opportunity to to play their instrument with Christmas at First really changed the trajectory of their Christmas season. So those stories are just, little ones that we don't hear about often, but again, just kind of a testament to the difference that really beautiful worship music and it can bring. And Susan is not only working with our young adults and senior choir members. She is also helping put on a camp this summer this is the third or fourth summer.
This is the third summer.
Okay.
No, it is the fourth summer for
I know,
music
I
camp.
thought so. It has been such a cool camp, you all. It's music camp. Susan, can you just let our listeners hear? Because I think you said you have some spots left for that.
We do have some spots. Music camp follows Vacation Bible School at our church. It is Monday through Thursday, June 9th through 12th. Music camp is from noon to 4 p.m. for rising second through sixth graders.
Okay.
We wish we could have the little ones, but it's just too full a day
out.
for them.
Yeah, they wear out after a few hours.
So we are offering classes in strings, drama, Orff instruments, which are the barred instruments, xylophones, metallophones, recorders. We'll have choir. Our music camp this year is called The Greatest Story Ever Told. So we're going to focus in on hymn singing, but singing beautiful hymns, even with a small orchestra for their final project, which will be that Thursday, June 12th at 3 p.m. So we look forward to more people joining. You can find the registration site on our First Pres website.
Absolutely.
And come join us. We have such a good time at Music Camp.
Yes, it is so much fun to be around the campus that week, y'all. Just so much energy. And the Lord tells us to make a joyful noise, and He loves to hear us praise Him. So we are giving you a lot of different ways to be a part of that. But definitely don't hold off on getting your sacred solos at first tickets at firstpresgreenville.org/events. They're only $10. Invite a friend. Come experience this beautiful way. And Susan, just thank you so much for the incredible job that you and your team do sharing the gospel through the music you all provide. We are really, really grateful you all are with us.
It is a team effort. I cannot believe that God allows us to honor Him and serve Him all together here. We really love each other and love the Lord in being able to offer Him this music.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again.
Over the last few weeks, as part of our Fridays at First podcast, I have been responding to listeners' questions. Last week, I responded to the question, what is Christian nationalism and how we should understand it? This week, the question is a little more personal. Richard, what should we do when over the last few months we have had a devastating hurricane which caused significant damage here in the Carolinas, dreadful wildfires in California, 14 people were killed when a vehicle was used in a terror attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, and we also had significant loss of life when 2 planes crashed only a couple of weeks ago. I'm concerned about the future and what the future holds for my children. Well, this is a great question, and thanks for asking it. What I would say, however, is that every generation faces similar issues. There have been times when, as a nation, we have been at war, and that has resulted in significant loss of life, often in tens of thousands. It was only a few years ago when we were in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic, which impacted us terribly here in the US and also across the world. Back in 2001, we had the terrorist attack on 9/11. There will always be periods when we face significant challenges. The question is, how do we respond to those challenges? Do we focus on the fear that accompanies such situations, or do we respond in faith? When we respond in faith, we ask, is Christ sufficient for my every need and the challenges that come my way? And of course, He is. So when we find ourselves agitated and anxious, we fix our eyes on Him and trust Him to take us through. Now, this does not mean that it will be a painless experience. It often is not. But we trust Him nonetheless. So in moments when we are upset, anxious, uncertain, we focus on the reality of our faith rather than focusing on the fear. The passage I go to most often in moments like this comes from Psalm 91, verses 1 and 2. Those who dwell in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. If you have any questions, you can email me at podcast@firstpresgreenville.org. Please give a warm First Pres welcome on Sunday to another group of new members as they take a step of commitment and prayerfully seek to assimilate into the life and ministry of the congregation. In addition to welcoming new members, our Moment for Mission this week will focus on our men's ministry and their retreat, which is coming up March 28th through 30th. Having been in San Antonio, Texas last weekend, assisting the congregation at First Presbyterian Church, I am delighted to be back in the pulpit this week. We will be continuing to focus on our current series, Flourishing, Healthy Then, Healthy Now, and exploring Acts chapter 5, verses 17 through 29. Please take a moment to read through this remarkable passage that focuses on the apostles being arrested and persecuted for their faith. Meanwhile, I trust you have a great weekend and I look forward to welcoming you on Sunday. And finally, while I was in San Antonio, our hotel was next to the Alamo. I did not sleep a wink all weekend. The large caliber cannons were firing all night and Santa Anna's troops were so noisy.